Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLM life and some true crime content here on this channel. So if any of that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to stick around. In today's video, I am bringing you some information regarding the Landmark Forum. So of course, just as a disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only and just my opinions. Also, this is based on any kind of research that was readily available to me. I will leave all of my sources in the description box below, but I do always encourage everyone to do your own research. If you stumbled upon this video because you're looking into the Landmark Forum, I would say, of course, make an opinion based on this video, but also look into it yourself too. Editing Monica here. I just wanted to say thank you so much to Cassie and Miss Mary for becoming channel members. You guys became channel members after I had already filmed this entire video, so I did just want to say thank you so much. And of course, as usual, thank you to everyone who watches my videos for free. It means so much that you support me and my channel. But anyway, let's get back to the video. But like I said, today we're going to talk about the Landmark Forum. Is it a cult? Is it a pyramid scheme? Is it just another money-making scam? Or is it a legitimate company that has, I guess you could say, ethical business practices? Or yeah, we're gonna get into all of that today because of course I have my own opinions backed by a lot of other things. But before we get into talking about the Landmark Forum, I do want to mention a few definitions to keep in mind as we go into this entire video. So I will say that I'm going to try my absolute best to be as unbiased as I possibly can. However, it is very important to note that one, I am not affiliated with this company whatsoever. I have never went to any kind of Landmark Forum courses or anything like that. Along with that, I am not a huge fan of personal development. I think there is a time and place for personal development, but I do think that some people have used personal development as a way to deal with their past trauma instead of speaking to a professional and getting professional help. The first definition I want to go over is toxic positivity. So you might be asking yourself, okay, what is toxic positivity? According to Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, who is a clinical psychologist that specializes in anxiety disorders, self-esteem, and more, says, quote, toxic positivity is the assumption either by oneself or others that despite a person's emotional pain or difficult situation, they should only have a positive mindset, or my pet peeve term, positive vibes, end quote. Toxic positivity is very common in multi-level marketing companies, which, as I said in the intro, is something that I do cover on my channel. And there is a big emphasis on personal development within these companies as well. You aren't allowed to have or post about any kind of negative thoughts or anything negative going on in your life. It has to be positive vibes only. And I know firsthand because I have been part of an MLM company before, but you don't have to be part of an MLM company to see this, because we've heard this in the plethora of all of the anti-MLM videos that we see on YouTube. This is common knowledge at this point, I feel like. The next definition is something that I'm pretty sure we all know of, but the Google definition of brainwashing is the process of pressuring someone into adopting radically different beliefs by using their systematic and often forcible means. There was a video that I watched by someone who, it was a testimonial of them going to the Landmark Forum. And they did say in their video that they are brainwashing because they are washing your brain of all of your negative thoughts. While someone else also said in a video that your thoughts aren't really your thoughts if they're negative thoughts. Okay. While the Landmark Forum might not brainwash like the typical brainwashing that we think of, for example, Scientology, it still seems like there is some kind of brainwashing happening, especially with how long, which I promise we'll get into this, but especially with how long these forums are and how strict they are. What is a cult? And the definition of what a cult is a system of religious devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. Or, the second definition says, is a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. Well, as we go into more about this company, you'll be able to form your own opinion on whether or not this is considered a cult, because it has been accused of being a cult multiple times and is constantly being defended by people who have attended the forum or their other advanced courses. They're very big on being authentic, and they're very big on talking about integrity as well. A lot of testimonials that I watched, it seems like this is very emphasized at this forum. Now that I got all of that out of the way, let's talk about what the Landmark Forum is, how did it start, etc. The Landmark Forum is a personal and professional development company that has had 2.4 million participants in 21 countries worldwide. People have been known to go to this forum on their own or with the companies that they work for. It was created by a man named Werner Erhard. However, he was not born with that name. He was born Jack Rosenberg. It's been said that he changed his name because of Ludwig Erhard, who was the Minister of Economics, and Werner Heisenberg, who was an atomic scientist. Werner is an author and lecturer who founded EST, or EST, that operated from 1971 to 1984. According to one article that I found, EST, which is Latin for it is an acronym for Erhard Seminars Training. This was supposedly part Zen Buddhism and Dale Carnegie. As some of the participants were called Estes, that if I reference them, they'll probably be called Estes, or I'll just say participants, it really doesn't matter. But Estes would go to conference halls at hotels across the country for trainings. These training sessions had specific meal and bathroom breaks, and this was to allegedly take responsibility for their own lives and kind of have, I guess, some kind of self-control. But it's been said that celebrities like Diana Ross and Yoko Ono went to some of these training sessions. So, of course, they're going to be very, very widely known if we have people like the Queen, Diana Ross, and the legend Yoko Ono going to sessions like these. They're going to be very, very well known. Newsweek said that Werner was a celebrity guru who retails enlightenment. Some people said that he was the king of brain snatchers. So of course we're going to have people who are very for EST, or now known as the Landmark Forum. And we'll talk about how it came about to be the Landmark Forum. But then there's also going to be just skeptics who think that this is all just brainwashing and a scam. So like I said, you can form your own opinion, but EST was said to be an alleged cult that used mind control on their trainees. Allegedly, the practice of mind control was due to verbal abuse and sleep deprivation that these people would undergo while being at these trainings. There was lots of recruiting going on to get your friends and family to join these sessions with no financial gain. So a lot of their marketing is done through word of mouth. They didn't really spend money on marketing because it was all just people telling their friends and family, I went to this really great training session or this really great session in general and it changed my life and I had a breakthrough and blah, 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 all of that nonsense. So they had plenty of seminars for people who have moved on to the next level. Starting to kind of sound a little bit like Scientology, right? So once you got to that next level, or once you get to that next level, there were a ton of different advanced courses, which is the way that it's set up today as well. In 1985, Werner rebooted EST, but as a forum, which was supposed to be a training session program, kind of like EST, that focused a little bit more on success-oriented subjects. In 1977, he founded the Hunger Project with John Denver and Robert Fuller. Then we're going to fast forward to March of 1991. This was when the IRS publicly accused Werner of tax fraud. this is kind of when things go a little bit downhill. There are a lot of accusations, so yeah, let's just get into it. During this time, there was a 60 Minutes episode that came out about him and being accused of mentally and physically abusing both of his past wives, who were Werner Erhard and Patricia Fry, along with, trigger warning, sexually assaulting his daughter from his second marriage. After that episode came out, of course, this tarnished his reputation, and he decided to just leave the country and kind of just get out of this whole entire thing. His Great Dane, who is named Polo, was left with one of his friends, and he sold all of his intellectual property to his employees that went on to start Landmark Education and was renamed in 2013 as Landmark Worldwide, of course now referred to as the Landmark Forum. Apparently, Werner still consults with the company, and they give him a lot of credit on their website. But once we get into Landmark and how they help people with past trauma, you won't be surprised to find out that Werner Erhard, the creator of all of this, does not have any formal education in psychology, and he's mostly self-taught with self-development in this industry. In my opinion, there is a big difference between self-development and facing past trauma. One of these, which is self-development and personal development, professional development, whatever you want to call it, is to help you feel more confident and to inspire you. And I do think, like I said earlier, there is a time and place for it. While I don't agree with it after being in an MLM and seeing just how this personal development plays into the role of toxic positivity, I don't agree with it, but I do know that there are plenty of people who read personal development all the time, and it does help them. It does help them think a little bit more positively, but there is a difference between thinking positively and being optimistic as opposed to being completely delusional and not realizing that you're suppressing these negative thoughts. You're suppressing these things that are what make you a human being. You're allowed to have a bad day. You're allowed to do that. And you're allowed to, if you want to talk to your spouse, your friend, your mom, your dad, whoever, if you want to talk to them and say, I had a bad day, and you just want to let it all out, and once you let it all out and it's all out in the open, you feel better, that's fine. That's called being a human. But as I was saying, there is a difference between it, because self-development is, like I said, supposed to inspire you and make you just feel a little bit better. Whereas the other one, which is facing past trauma, is something serious and requires a professional. This past trauma, there are people out there who went through something in their life, and it takes decades to really, I guess, not even necessarily be able to cope with it, but there are some people who are never, ever able to cope with it. So past trauma needs to be handled by a professional. So if you're going into this Landmark Forum and you have a mental illness, please, for the love of all that is holy, please seek professional help, please, because this is... Anyway, let's continue. However, there is a little bit of a twist to the story in his life. During that 60 Minutes episode that I just talked about, there was an interesting little tidbit of information. Werner had to remove himself from the company. So remember how I talked about how he sold the intellectual property? He had to remove himself because of all of the accusations, and he felt that it would damage the entire company. But there's a reason why all of these accusations started. He claimed that the Church of Scientology drove him to leave the country, and apparently the very same 60 Minutes episode was some kind of conspiracy theory that Scientology officials were getting back at him for stealing their clients and ideas. I just recently did an interview with Mindy Lynn here on YouTube, and part 1 is on my channel and part 2 is on her channel. We were discussing Scientology and MLMs. So if you want to go ahead and give that video a watch, I'll try to remember to link it in the cards or link it below. But I do think that it's important, if you're not too familiar with Scientology, I do think it's great to watch those videos. But we know that with Scientology, as soon as you turn your back on Scientology, they will do whatever they possibly can to just bring you down. They will go after everything. They will have smear campaigns. They'll do whatever it takes to ruin your life, which is why it's no surprise that the Scientology officials were trying to take him down because, shocker, he took some Scientology courses previously. However, it is a little strange that someone who took these courses started his own, in my opinion, cult-like company. Did he maybe take some of what he learned from Scientology and apply it to his own program? Well, he told a biographer that, quote, "I am not surprised that people find traces of Scientology in EST. In EST, we use variations of some of the Scientology charts, and as a result, the terminology overlaps a bit. In essential respects, however, the two are different," end quote. So there's that, but in the end, Werner Erhard sued the IRS for the false allegations of the tax fraud and everything, and he won $200,000 worth of in damages. The daughter would go on to, the daughter that he was accused of, trigger warning, assaulting, she would go on to recant her statement about the abuse, stating that she wanted an advance on a book, along with CBS taking down the 60 Minutes episode about him and all of the accusations, and it kind of looking like a smear campaign from its public archives. So you can take what you will out of that information. Let me know in the comments so far if you think that he was being falsely accused, or if there is some truth to his these allegations that were made against him. Do you think that maybe there's kind of like a gray area that where the truth lies? Because I mean, I feel like all of these accusations that happened one after the other, and talking about mental and physical abuse and things of that nature, I mean, his company that he started, judging by some of what I've seen online and just seen testimonials of, there might be a little bit of truth to the mental abuse part, because if you're going to yell at people in a room and try to, in a sense, break them down for them to have some kind of a crazy breakthrough, maybe there is some truth to that, allegedly, just my opinion. But in 2004, Dr. Jensen, who was part of Landmark, made a course that was just an experiment, and it was about integrity in leadership that would be taught at the Simon Business School at the University of Rochester. This class would be offered at the school for about 5 years, and within year 3, that's when Werner became the instructor for the course. This course was not only taught at that university, but several other universities around the world, along with the United States Air Force Academy. So that's very interesting. The Landmark website says the following about Werner Erhard. Quote, "For over 4 decades, he's been widely recognized for his groundbreaking transformational models and applications for individual, organizational, and social transformation. In November 2015, Mr. Erhard was described to the New York Times as one of the great intellectuals of the century by renowned Harvard economist Professor Michael C. Jensen, who has collaborated with Erhard on academic articles, papers, and curricula. In February 1991, a group of highly committed individuals who had worked with Erhard and who had a commitment to making a profound and lasting difference for people established a new company called Landmark. The enterprise they formed is today the top provider of development programs in the world. Landmark offers 60 programs in more than 125 locations throughout 21 countries around the world." That's a lot. So how do these programs work? According to the Landmark Forum website, they are customized for the participants to focus on what they truly care about and that the programs are what cause people to have these crazy breakthroughs. They end up going out and calling friends and family afterwards and crying on the phone and having these revelations, I guess you can kind of call them that. There was an MD by the name of Dr. Joe DiMaggio, who is also the director of Landmark's Research, Design, and Development Division. And he says, now, please be kind to me with this quote because it's a lot of words, and I have filmed this multiple times because I keep stumbling on the words. Try to say some of these things 3 times fast, Anyway, quote, "What makes our methodology and programs unique is that they're grounded in an ontological and phenomenological model, not in a theoretical context, but rather from an on-the-court, directly applicable perspective. Ontology, in the way we're using the term, is the study and examination of the nature of what it is to be a human being. By phenomenological, we don't mean something theoretical or conceptual, but rather people examining their lives from how their lives are actually lived. This education is distinct from the traditional education that most of us are familiar with, in that its aim is not the delivery of new information that needs to be remembered or applied, but instead its aim is to produce unprecedented and lasting breakthroughs in people's lives that become part of their natural self-expression," end quote. When it comes to the employees of the Landmark Forum, they do have a small list of their faculty on their website. However, from what I've gathered online and from videos and stuff that I watched, they heavily depend on volunteers, which they call, instead of calling it volunteering, they call it assisting. This, of course, is going to save them a ton of money, because if people have had these crazy personal breakthroughs and they really truly believe in the Landmark Forum, they're going to volunteer for this. And it's just, they're bringing in a ton of money, which you're going to see in a little bit because we're going to go over their courses. But they do offer corporate counseling or consulting, whatever you want to call it, along with their regular just self-development of people wanting to go out of their own free will. They offer this for companies, which is run by the Vanto Group. And this is a global consulting firm that uses the Landmark courses. Vanto Group is a wholly owned subsidiary of Landmark. According to their website, the Landmark Forum offers a practical methodology for producing breakthroughs, achievements that are extraordinary outside of what's predictable. The Landmark Forum is grounded in a model of transformative learning, a way of learning that gives people an awareness of the basic structures in which they know, think, and act. From the awareness comes a fundamental shift that leaves people more fully in accord with their own possibilities and those of others. Participants find themselves able to think and act beyond existing views and limits in their personal and professional lives, relationships, and wider communities of interest. And you might be wondering, what are some of the courses that Landmark offers? Well, they offer courses for the younger crowd. Yes, they have a course that's called the Landmark Forum for Teens and the Landmark Forum for Young People. That really concerns me because the man who created this course is someone who used some of what he learned in his Scientology courses that he took. These are young and impressionable minds that are being taught things like this, along with toxic positivity. And I think that it is incredibly dangerous to teach children toxic positivity. It is important for us to teach them what that is, because I'm sorry, as I stated earlier in this video, you are allowed to have a bad day. You are allowed to have thoughts that are not just everything is sunshine and unicorns and rainbows and I out sprinkles and sparkles. Like, that's not how the world works. In order to be able to cope with hardships in our life, we have to go through those moments where we have a bad day and we have negative thoughts. Now, there is a difference between having a bad day and needing professional help. I have to keep reiterating that in this video because I do believe that a lot of courses like these are very dangerous to those who have an actual mental illness. But if you're wondering what other programs that the Landmark Forum offers, they include, like I said, the one for young people. They have the regular Landmark Forum, then they have a graduate course for Landmark Forum, which are their advanced courses. They have seminars, which there is a giant list of seminars, along with wisdom programs, wisdom vacation courses, and coaching. As I said, there are plenty of these courses on their website if you would like to look at them and see just how many there are. But how does all of this work? What happens at these forums? How much does it cost? Because let me just tell you, it's a little pricey. But that's what we're going to get into the next portion of this video. It is said that while you're at this forum, you stand up and speak into a microphone in front of everyone to talk about some personal things. If you watched my collaboration with Savvy Writes Books here on YouTube many months ago, we both had a part 1 and a part 2 talking about Tony, or as I am now forever going to be referring to him as Tiny Robbins, because autocorrect kind of messed me up when I was talking to Savvy the one day. So from now on, his name is Tiny Robbins, which is another self-help guru, along with people like Rachel Hollis, and which she's in a lot of trouble right now. If you're looking for some good Rachel Hollis content, I highly recommend Savvy Writes Books. But anyway, going back to what I was saying. And of course, Tiny Robbins is an alleged Scientologist. Anyway, Savvy's portion of our collab was about the Netflix documentary that showcased Tiny's conference, where it seemed kind of like a cult, with the same idea of him sharing the mic with people and them talking in front of everybody. One woman broke up with her boyfriend in front of the entire crowd while she had this mic in her face, along with another guy who started roaring into the microphone because he was a lion and that his sex life with his wife was suffering, along with another woman who had grown up in a cult. And I feel so terrible because if you look at all of these people, they're all vulnerable people. Where have we seen this before? MLM companies, they target people at their most vulnerable state, which before I go off on a tangent, we'll go over that in a little bit. But according to the Landmark website, it says that each course takes place over 3 consecutive days and an evening session, generally Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday evening. Each full day begins at 9 a.m. and ends at approximately 10 p.m. Breaks are approximately every 2 to 3 hours with a 90-minute dinner break. The evening session generally runs from 7 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. In certain locations, it'll run from 7:30 p.m. to 10:45 p.m. Landmark forums presented simultaneously in more than one language may end as late as midnight, and in India, the forum ends at approximately 11 p.m. There was an article that I stumbled upon. There were actually a few that I came upon of the authors attending these forums, but this one in particular, the author said, quote, "There are rules. Timekeeping is essential. Toilet breaks are discouraged. Missing even a minute will jeopardize our chance of achieving transformation. We will work for 3 to 4 hours at a time. During short breaks, we will have homework. There is 1 meal break in the early evening and more homework after the day is done. Note-taking, unprescribed medicines, and alcohol are forbidden, and we must open our minds to all suggestions." End quote. I can understand why alcohol would not be allowed because that could get a little messy. However, the whole working on your homework during your breaks and not being able to take a full break is what shows just how much they are breaking these people down at these forums. Because I think that if you have to go to the bathroom, you should be able to go to the bathroom. There was a movie, I forget what it was called, but it was a parody on these types of meetings. There was one woman who got up at one point and she started saying how she peed her pants and she was so happy that she peed her pants and that she had some kind of revelation or whatever. But there is something at these forums called the Secret Seven. And these are almost kind of mimicking how we have the 10 commandments. So this would be like the 7 commandments, so to speak, for being a great person. Because just like MLM companies, you're not a great person before you enter these MLM companies. They will change you into the best version of yourself. But anyway, I digress. The 7 commandments, if you will: be racket free, give up being right even when you know you were. I can see how this could help some people, because I know of some people who, when they are right, they will consistently and annoyingly just constantly talk about how they're right. And I do think that there comes a point in time where it's just they're feeding their own ego. So yeah, you were right, move on. However, if you were right on something and someone is trying to tell you that you are not right, then I think you should stick up for yourself, and I think you should tell them, well, no, I am right because I have legitimate facts that back up what I say. If you want to bring it back to the content I usually make on this channel, when people tell me that there's a bunch of misinformation in my video, but yeah, I leave all my sources in the description box below. And on top of that, most of the information, unless I say allegedly or in my opinion, comes directly from the website. So that's something that that's a whole nother topic. But the next one of the commandments is be powerful. Be straight in your communication and take what you get. The following: be courageous. Acknowledge your fear, not necessarily get rid of it, and then act. Which is a little odd because they're all about toxic positivity in this forum and in their courses and everything. So why would they try to tell them not to get rid of their fear if there's people that are coming out of this forum saying that their negative thoughts are not actually their thoughts? And I would say that fear would fall into the category of a negative thought. The next one: be peaceful. Give up the interpretation that there's something wrong. Be charismatic. Give up trying to get somewhere. Be entirely fulfilled in the present moment. Be enrolling. Share your new possibilities in such a way that others are touched, moved, and inspired. This, I feel like, is being drilled into these people's heads as a marketing tactic to get them to have their friends and family sign up for this opportunity. So they're recruiting them. Be unreasonable in expectations of yourself and others beyond what you think you are capable of. This is where we're going to move on to how much these courses cost. Your tuition, is what they call it, is based on your currency and your location. However, if we want to take a look at some examples, that's what I'm going to go over right now. I'm going to go over what they have in the US just because that's where I'm based out of, but there is a plethora of other countries and cities and everything like that. So if you are interested in researching this a little bit more, go ahead, take a look at it. But anyway, let's go over what is in the Landmark Forum for the United States. It ranges anywhere between $650 to $845 for the full tuition. There is a deposit that you pay, which is $200 to $250. But remember, this does not include all of your expenses. Let's say that you live in Florida like me. This state is a giant state. And the cost of the course is, in Florida, for me, it would be $675. But what if it's in the city of Orlando? I am currently in the Panhandle, so that's very far from where I live. That would mean that I would have to buy not just a plane ticket, but I would have to get a hotel room and then pay for my transportation to and from this 3-day event, because most likely if it's being held at a hotel, the prices of the rooms are going to increase during that weekend because they know that there's a conference being held. And then I would have to pay for, like I said, public transportation or a rental car, whatever, along with any food and drinks that I decide to purchase. This can very, very quickly add up to over $1,000 for a 3-day course that is supposed to give me some kind of breakthrough and make me deal with my past traumas. As I mentioned earlier, they have not just the Landmark Forum, but they have the advanced courses as well. And these include many different courses, but we're going to look at just the one specific advanced course. This starts where the Landmark Forum left off, is what it says. It's supposed to help you in recognizing things as they really are, along with stepping outside of familiar and habitual ways of thinking to invent whole new perspectives and approaches that lead to new ways of being and acting. The advanced courses design a future from the future, not limited by the past, and move the notion of possibility from an abstract idea to a day-to-day living reality. The time span of this course and kind of the breaks and everything are very similar to the Landmark Forum that we just went over, but shocker, the tuition is higher. The tuition for this, I'm going to go over the US, ranges anywhere from $975 to $1,125. Yes, that is for a 3-day course. And they encourage you to go for these advanced courses. They encourage you to do these things. And as I said earlier, this is not going to cover any of your expenses. This is just the 3-day course by itself. At the end of the day, is this Landmark Forum a pyramid scheme? Is it legitimate? Is it an MLM? Is it a cult? That's what we're going to go over in this portion, and this is the final portion of the video. People tend to call this a pyramid scheme for the fact that there is endless recruiting and all of their marketing is word of mouth, like a pyramid scheme or an MLM. They don't spend money on advertising. They have their people who get paid little to no money. And in a pyramid scheme, I mean, obviously we know that in a pyramid scheme, there's no product, but the difference with the Landmark Forum is that while they're recruiting just like you would in a pyramid scheme and in an MLM, there's no financial gain for them to recruit their friends and family into this. And I think that some people come out of the Landmark Forum just so different that they're very quick to tell their friends and family about this remarkable course, this awesome program, and that they don't really feel like they need to be compensated for it. But for a course where you're paying X amount of dollars, I would hope that there would be a little portion when they register saying who they were referred by so that you can get a discount on your next 3-day course that's going to cost you upwards of $1,000 just for the 3-day course. But that's just me. However, at the same time, they do talk about how you graduate to different levels as you keep paying for these courses. So it kind of sounds like you're climbing to the top of the triangle like structure, pyramid structure, just not getting paid for it. Is it a cult? This is going to be slightly opinion based, along with, I will leave the bite model linked in the description box below. We'll go over that in just a few minutes. But first and foremost, the amount of testimonials that I saw on just YouTube defending and starting off their videos with, this is not a cult, is quite alarming. If you have to constantly defend something and constantly defend the company that you're working for, if we're looking at an MLM, as my friend Alonda over at the Recovering Humbot says all the time, if it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. This is something that we constantly see, as I already said, MLM reps doing all the time. They're constantly defending this company that they work for. They're constantly defending that it's not a pyramid scheme and I make a lot of money off of it. But they ignore the facts. They ignore that 99.6% of people don't make money in these things. And do these MLM reps really think that if something were to happen that this company cares about them? No, they do not. But I digress. Let's keep going. I do find it alarming that a lot of the basics for the Landmark Forum were taken from Scientology. The creator of the program himself kind of said that to that biographer, that quote that I talked about earlier. Another thing that's interesting to note is some people who made recent videos about the Landmark Forum here on YouTube have gone on to make other personal development-esque videos on their channels. So I find that kind of interesting that they kind of let this spill over into their channel. But as I stated earlier, there is something called the bite model. And if we want to take out Stephen Hassan's website, on there it says, many people think of mind control as an ambiguous, mystical process that cannot be defined in concrete terms. In reality, mind control refers to the specific set of methods and techniques such as hypnosis or thought stopping that influence how a person thinks, feels, and acts. BITE stands for behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. Y'all can take a look at this BITE model. If you've been part of the anti-MLM community, you already know a lot about the BITE model, but if you want to take a further look at it, I will leave it linked in the description box below. If you went to the Landmark Forum and you kind of want to compare your experiences to the BITE model, I will let you be the judge of whether or not you think it's a cult. So that's something that like I said, I will leave in the description box. But there was someone who said, quote, Landmark has faced accusations of being a cult, but I saw nothing of that. Far from working to separate us from our families and friends, we were told there was no relationship too dead to be revived, no love too cold to be warmed, end quote. Even with that sentiment from the author of the article, in my opinion, I think it could quite possibly be a cult or something of a cult hybrid, or just have cult-like tendencies, because it's very concerning. And I do think that a lot of the tactics to sign up for Landmark are very similar to that of cults. If you ever listen to someone who is in an MLM, for example, and MLMs are sometimes referred to as commercial cults, there is always some kind of sob story, some kind of rags to riches story. If you watch any of the reaction videos that are on my channel, there's a lot of times where these MLM reps will go on to talk about how they had a terrible life before, they were in debt, they were in a terrible relationship, they had all of these bad things going on in their life, and they credit the MLM to saving whatever it is in their lives, and that it's such an amazing thing, it helped them. Now, while I do think it's great when you can find a hobby or something that, let's say you go seek out a professional and your doctor tells you you need to pick up some kind of a hobby, it'll help you with whatever you're dealing with. That's great, pick up a hobby, but don't let that hobby be an MLM or some kind of personal development bullshit like the Landmark Forum. They target people when they're the most vulnerable. And that's what I truly have a problem with. Unfortunately, for some people, I think that this is kind of another issue as to why people turn to things like this, is some people don't have a support system and they have nowhere else or no one else to turn to, which again, they're in a vulnerable state. Here comes along this beautiful Landmark Forum of, we can help you have a breakthrough and yada, yada, yada. And they think, you know what? I'm gonna try it. Why you would try it at that kind of a price, I have no idea, but that's on the person. At the end of the day, while it may not be full-blown a cult, it has cult-like tendencies, it has scammy marketing tactics, it targets people at their most vulnerable state, just like MLM companies do. And I think it's just another business making tons of money off of people who are just sad, who have nowhere else to go, who are at their wits' end. They're at the end of the road and they don't know what else to do. And instead of going to seek out professional help, they think, let me pay close to $1,000 for this. Yes, maybe this helps some people feel like a better person, but I don't believe it's helping people deal with past trauma, because I do believe that that is what a professional is for. And I think it's very dangerous to kind of market that these people are going to have some kind of breakthrough from past traumas. I don't know, something doesn't sit well with me with the Landmark Forum. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Someone had asked me to cover this in my previous video with Mindy, Lynn, when we covered the Scientology aspect of things with MLMs and comparing the two. So I had never heard of this before, and let me just tell you, it was a whirlwind of crazy things. As soon as I started seeing all of the testimonials of people starting it off with, this is not a cult, that was a big major flag to me, a huge major flag to me. But anyway, before I ramble on and on for way too long, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye.